Good afternoon, and thank you all for coming. Y'all's the only thing I've picked up Southern. I grew up in Pennsylvania, but I like y'all a whole lot better than you'uns. Anyway, I hope we'll have some fun this afternoon. I'm going to take you from jam, the beaches, tickle your imagination, and maybe some memories. Can you hear me? Can you hear? Is that better? Is that better? Echoes a little bit, doesn't it? How's that? Ooh, that doesn't sound so good either. How about that? That's better. Maybe if I keep my head still. That's impossible for me to do. Oh, she's turning blue. I think I do probably. Well, we'll try. So I'm going to take you from jam to the beaches and tickle your imagination and hopefully inspire some memories with the help of Lewis Carroll and Franz Kafka, Ned Arnett, and Lauren Isley. And Ned Arnett used to live, well, he lived here at the forest for quite a while, and a lot of his poetry was in the forester. And there's a collection called Not for Cities, Sissies, I'm sorry, Not for Sissies, that's available in the gift shop. So maybe this will inspire you to pick that up. Okay, is that any better? Oh, good. Oh, good. Okay, we'll start with Through the Looking Glass. And we're going to see Tweedledee and Tweedledum as they are just about ready for a duel. And of course, Alice. Of course, you agree to have a battle, Tweedledum said in a calmer tone. I suppose so, the other sulkily replied as he crawled out of the umbrella. Only she must help us dress, you know. So the two brothers went off hand in hand into the wood and returned in a minute with their arms full of things, such as bolsters, blankets, hearth rugs, tablecloths, dish covers, and coal shuttles. I hope you're a good hand at pinning and tying strings, Tweedledum remarked. Every one of these things has got to go on somehow or other. Alice said afterwards she'd never seen such a fuss made about anything in all her life. The way those two bustled about, and the quantity of things they put on, and the trouble they gave her in tying strings and fastening buttons. Really, they'll be more like bundles of old clothes than anything else by the time they're ready, she said to herself, as she arranged a bolster around the neck of Tweedledee to keep his head from being cut off, as he said. You know, he said very gravely, it's one of the most serious things that can possibly happen to one in a battle, to have one's head cut off. Alice laughed loud, but she managed to turn it into a cough for fear of hurting his feelings. Do I look very pale? Said Tweedledum, coming up to have his helmet tied on. He called it a helmet, though it certainly looked more like a saucepan. Well, yes, a little, Alice replied gently. I'm very brave, generally, Tweedledum said, but today I happen to have a headache. And I've got a toothache, said Tweedledee, who had overheard the remark. I'm far worse than you. Then you better not fight today, said Alice, thinking it a good opportunity to make peace. We must have a bit of a fight, but I don't care about going on long, said Tweedledum. What's the time now? Tweedledee looked at his watch and said, 4:30. Let's fight till 6 and then have dinner, said Tweedledum. Very well, said the other one rather sadly, and she can watch us. Only you better not come very close, he added. I generally hit anything I can see when I get really excited. And I hit everything within reach, said Tweedledum, whether I see it or not. Alice laughed. You must hit the trees pretty often, I should think, she said. Tweedledum looked around him with a satisfied smile. I suppose, he said, there'll be a tree. I don't suppose there'll be a tree left standing for ever so far around by the time we finish. And all about a rattle, said Alice, still hoping to make them a little ashamed of fighting over such a trifle. I shouldn't have minded it so much, said Tweedledum, if it hadn't been a new one. I wish the monstrous crow would come, thought Alice. There's only one sword, you know, Tweedledum said to his brother. But you can have the umbrella. It's quite as sharp. Only you must begin quick. It's getting as dark as it can. And darker, said Tweedledee. It was getting dark so suddenly that Alice thought there must be a thunderstorm coming on. What a thick black cloud that is, she said, and how fast it comes. Why, I do believe it's got wings. It's the crow, Tweedledum cried in a shrill voice of alarm, and the two brothers took to their heels and were out of sight in a moment. Alice ran a little way into the wood and stopped under a large tree. It can never get at me here, she thought. It's far too large to squeeze itself in among the trees. But I wish it wouldn't flap its wings so. It makes quite a hurricane in the wood. Here's someone's shawl being blown away. She caught the shawl as she spoke and looked about for the owner. In another moment, the White Queen came running wildly through the wood, with both arms stretched out wide as if she were flying, and Alice, very civilly, went to meet her with the shawl. I'm very glad I happened to be in the way, Alice said, as she helped her to put her shawl on again. The White Queen only looked at her in a helpless, frightened sort of way, and kept repeating something in a whisper to herself that sounded like bread and butter, bread and butter. And Alice felt as if there was going to be any conversation at all, she must manage it herself. So she began rather timidly. Am I addressing the White Queen? Well, yes, if you call it addressing, the Queen said. It isn't my notion of the thing at all. Alice thought it would never do to have an argument at the beginning of their conversation, so she smiled and said, If Majesty will only tell me the right way to begin, I'll do it as well as I can. But I don't want it done at all, groaned the poor Queen. I've been addressing myself for the last 2 hours. It would have been all the better, as it seemed to Alice, if she had got someone else to dress her because she was dreadfully untidy. Every single thing's crooked, Alice thought to herself, and she's all over pins. May I put your shawl straight for you? She added aloud. I don't know what's the matter with it, the Queen said in a melancholy voice. It's out of temper, I think. I've pinned it here and I've pinned it there, but there's no pleasing it. It can't go straight, you know, if you pin it all on one side, Alice said as she gently put it right for her. And dear me, what a state your hair is in. The brush has got entangled in it, the Queen said with a sigh, and I lost the comb yesterday. Alice carefully released the brush and did her best to get the hair into order. Come, you look rather better now, she said after altering most of the pins. But really, you should have a lady's maid. I'm sure I'll take you with pleasure, the Queen said. 2 pence a week and jam every other day. Alice couldn't help laughing as she said, I don't want you to hire me, and I don't care for jam. It's very good jam, said the Queen. Well, I don't want any today, at any rate. You couldn't have it if you did want it, the Queen said. The rule is jam today, jam yesterday, but never jam today. It must come sometimes to jam today, Alice objected. No, it can't, said the Queen. It's a jam every other day. Today isn't any other day, you know. I don't understand you, said Alice. It's dreadfully confusing. That's the effect of living backwards, the Queen said kindly. It always makes one a little giddy at first. Living backwards? Alice repeated in great astonishment. I never heard of such a thing. But there's one great advantage in it, the one that one's memory works both ways. I'm sure mine only works one way, Alice remarked. I can't remember things before they happen. It's a poor sort of memory that only works backwards, the Queen remarked. What sort of things do you remember best? Alice ventured to ask. Oh, things that happened the week after next, the Queen replied in a careless tone. For instance, now, she went on, sticking a large piece of plaster on her finger as she spoke, there's the king's messenger. He's in prison now, being punished. And the trial doesn't even begin until next Wednesday. And of course, the crime comes last of all. Suppose he never commits the crime, says Alice. That would be all the better, wouldn't it? The Queen said as she bound the plaster around her finger with a bit of ribbon. Alice felt there was no denying that. Of course it would be all the better, she said, wouldn't it be all the but it wouldn't be all the better his being punished. You're wrong there at any rate, said the Queen. Were you ever punished? Only for faults, said Alice. And you were the better for it, I know, the Queen said triumphantly. Yes, but I had done the things I was punished for, said Alice. That makes all the difference. But if you hadn't done them, the Queen said, that would have been better still. Better, better, better! Her voice went higher with each better till it got to a squeak at last. Alice was just beginning to say there's a mistake somewhere when the Queen began screaming so loud she had to leave the sentence unfinished. Oh, 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 shouted the Queen, shaking her hand as though she wanted to shake it off. My finger's bleeding. Oh, 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 oh. Her screams were so exactly like the whistle of a steam engine that Alice had to hold both her hands over her ears. What is the matter? She said as soon as there was a chance of making herself heard. Have you pricked your finger? I haven't pricked it yet, the Queen said, but I soon shall. Oh, 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 oh. What do you expect to do? Said Alice, feeling very much inclined to laugh. When I fasten my shawl again, the poor Queen groaned, the brooch will come undone directly. Oh, 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 she said the words, and the brooch flew open, and the Queen clutched wildly at it and tried to clasp it. Take care, said Alice. You're holding it all crooked. And then she caught at the brooch, but it was too late. The pin had slipped, and the Queen had pricked her finger. That accounts for the bleeding, you see, she said to Alice with a smile. Now you understand the way things happen here. But why don't you scream now? Alice asked, holding her hands ready to put over her ears again. Why, I've done all the screaming already, said the Queen. What would be the good of having it all over again? By this time it was getting light. The crow must have flown away, I think, said Alice. I'm so glad it's gone. I thought it was night coming on. I wish I could manage to be glad, the Queen said. Only I can't remember the rule. You must be very happy living in this wood and being glad whenever you like. Only it's so very lonely here, Alice said in a melancholy voice, and at the thought of her loneliness, 2 large tears rolled down each cheek. Oh, don't go on like that, cried the poor Queen, wringing her hands in despair. Consider what a girl you are, what a great girl you are. Consider what a long way you've come today. Consider what o'clock it is. Consider anything, only don't cry. Alice could not help laughing at this, even in the midst of her tears. Can you keep from crying by considering things? That's the way it's done, said the Queen, with great decision. Nobody can do 2 things at once, you know. Let's consider your age to begin with. How old are you? I'm 7.5, exactly. You needn't say exactly, the Queen remarked. I can believe it without that. Now, I'll give you something to believe. I'm just 101, 5 months and a day. I can't believe that, said Alice. Can't you? The Queen said in a pitying tone. Try again. Draw a long breath and shut your eyes. Alice laughed. There's no use trying, she said. One can't believe impossible things. I dare say you haven't had much practice, said the Queen. When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. There goes the shawl again. The brooch had come undone as she spoke, and a sudden gust of wind blew the queen's shawl across a little brook. The queen spread out her arms again and went flying after it, and this time she succeeded in catching it herself. I've got it, she cried in a triumphant tone. Now you shall see me pin it on again all by myself. Then I hope your finger is better now, Alice said very politely as she crossed the little brook after the queen. And if that wasn't confusing enough, we'll move on to Franz Kafka, who wrote A Common Confusion. Kafka, you'll remember, also wrote Metamorphosis. Yes. Okay. This reminded me a little of the first few weeks I lived at the forest when I would come to a dead end on a hallway or be so lost I had to go outside. And it always took me longer than I thought to get someplace. Anyway, a common confusion. A common experience resulting in a common confusion. There are two characters, A and B, and they're trying to get to a place H. A has to transact important business with B in H. He goes to H for a preliminary interview, accomplishes the journey there in 10 minutes and the journey back in the same time, and on returning boasts to his family of his expedition. Next day, he goes again to H, this time to settle his business finally. As that, by all appearances, will require several hours, A leaves very early in the morning. But although all the accessory circumstances, at least in A's estimation, are exactly the same as the day before, it takes him 10 hours this time to reach H. When he arrives, he's quite exhausted in the evening, and he's informed that B, annoyed at his absence, had left half an hour before to go to A's village, and that they must have passed each other on the road. A is advised to wait. But in his anxiety about his business, he sets off at once and hurries home. This time, he achieves the journey without paying any particular attention to the fact exactly in a second. At home, he learns that B had arrived quite early, immediately after A's departure. Indeed, that he had met A on the threshold and reminded him of the business, but A had replied that he had no time to spare. He must go at once. In spite of this incomprehensible behavior of A, however, B had stayed on to wait for A's return. It is true he had asked several times whether A was not back yet, but he was still sitting up in A's room. Overjoyed at the opportunity of seeing B at once and explaining everything to him, A rushes upstairs. He's almost at the top when he stumbles and twists the sinew, and almost fainting with pain, incapable even of uttering a cry, only able to moan faintly in the darkness, he hears B, impossible to tell whether at a great distance or quite near him, stamping down the stairs in a violent rage and vanishing for good. Quite a confusion. Okay. Ned Arnett is going to take us first to an airport and then to the beach. People watching. Any airport, any holiday by Ned Arnett. You've run the gauntlet of inconvenience, imposed through years of anonymous enemies, up at the crack of dawn to allow time for x-raying everything because of Cuban hijackers, taking your shoes off thanks to the shoe bomber, and next the search of body cavities after that. Searching your thoughts? You've cleared security and you're getting bored out of your skull, searching for an abandoned newspaper or getting your fourth cup of coffee just for something to do. You could be busy in your techno space, talking loudly in public on your cell phone, or text messaging, twittering, friending, or emailing. Meanwhile, one of the greatest shows on earth is streaming past, and you have a ringside seat to see the shifting acts and scenes of so many dramas and even melodramas, with their fond farewells and welcome homes, private lives being played out in public. For males and females of every age, weight, and class, the universally accepted leisure wear for travel is tennis shoes and denim pants. Can you believe it? Denim? Levi cowboy pants, much too tight for 40-ish office workers, or hip hop pants worn prison style halfway down the butt, flopping around the untied shoelaces of expensive sneakers. From the waist up, it's every man's choice of statements on t shirts, sweatshirts, or jackets advertising almost anything, telling the world what they'd like to be identified with. And then there's a matter of hair on the head or face. For men, the awful decisions of the 70s are gone. Let it grow, shave it off, grow a beard, a mustache. Now, a simple, obligatory 5-day stubble marks you as a manly lover of sports, girls, and beer. For women, the choice of what to do with hair, nails, and personal adornment never ceases. But now there's the big matter of tattooing or body piercing as part of claiming who I am and whom I'd like to attract. They keep coming, making me think of throngs wandering the halls of Dante's Purgatorio. Is this 50-some-year-old woman clutching her stuffed bear or her long lost childhood? Are these four young Marines in desert combat uniform with their Paris Island haircuts and air of assurance coming from or going to one of our various wars, seeking a quiet corner to stretch out on the floor and sleep? How about all the foreigners in saris, burqas, turbans, jabbering away in their excited greeters in God's own language, Urdu, Turkish, Thai, Telugu? And don't forget the little kids running around in circles screaming. They'll be ready to explode after 3 hours in the plane. The speaker says it's time to stand in line for boarding. Back to the reality of taking my place with the actors. Abandon hope, all ye who enter here, would fit the entrance to our ergonomically cramped places as we speculate our most likely neighbors. I'll bet I get the screamer on one side and the 400-pound linebacker on the other. Okay, now we'll go to the beach. The beach. Are we there yet? Dad's 1925 Tin Lizzie rattled through the Jersey pine barrens on our way to the shore, drawn by the primordial magic of the ocean, the way it looked, the way it smelled, the wonderful way it sounded. Now again, we're here at the sea. It looks the same, its color reflecting the sky, pewter gray or shimmering, sparkling silver, its smooth set by the wind. It sounds the same, the timeless breathing of our old gray mother, inhaling as the surf withdraws, then breathing out as the foaming flood races up the strand from the collapsing breakers. It's August, and it's a frantic rush to squeeze in the annual beach experience. Hotels and beachfront cottages burst with life. Little kids rush to play in the sand or scamper in the surf. Postmenopausal elders, male and female alike, bask like elephant seals in the blazing sun. The display behavior of adults from the 20s to the 60s sends unmistakable challenges to reproductive fitness as they jog or run in abbreviated shorts, muscles rippling, fat and boobies jiggling, breasts of every conceivable size and shape on display. Baking in the sun, everyone pursues the perfect tan, savoring in advance the envy of pale stay-at-home friends when they return to the neighborhood office or club. Soon enough, the beach will reclaim its own. The umbrellas will be folded, and Margaritavilles grow strangely silent. The kids will be back in school. Busboys will return to their graduate studies, and shorebirds play tag with surf unimpeded. And next comes hurricane season. This last is a short abstract from Lauren Isley's The Star Thrower. And Arnett first introduced me to Lauren Isley's writing, and this is just a small snippet. The Starfish Story. Once upon a time, there was a wise man who used to go to the ocean to do his writing. He had a habit of walking on the beach before he began his work. One day, as he was walking along the shore, he looked down the beach and saw a human figure moving like a dancer. He smiled to himself at the thought of someone who would dance to the day, and so he walked faster to catch up. As he got closer, he noticed that the figure was that of a young man, and that what he was doing was not dancing at all. The young man was reaching down to the shore, picking up small objects, and throwing them into the ocean. He, he came closer still and called out, "Good morning. May I ask what it is that you are doing?" The young man paused, looked up, and replied, "Throwing starfish into the ocean." "I must ask then, why are you throwing starfish into the ocean?" asked the somewhat startled, wise man. To this the young man replied, "The sun is up and the tide is going out. If I don't throw them in, they will die." Upon hearing this, the wise man commented, "But young man, do you not realize that there are miles and miles of beach and there are starfish along every mile? You can't possibly make a difference." At this, the young man bent down, picked up yet another starfish, and threw it into the ocean. As it met the water, he said, "It made a difference for that one." I hope you had some fun. Oh, sure.